first recipe is the slow cooker crustless quiche. So I'm going to do a bit fun facts about some eggs. It's kind of a hot topic recently. But I first want to ask you guys, do you guys know what the yolk color depends on? How the yolk gets its color, does anyone know? It depends on the diet of the hen. So, fun fact about that. Eggs contain vitamins that help develop our healthy cells in the body, also support our immune system, and maintain healthy skin. So, the egg yolks are one of the very few foods that naturally contain a good source of vitamin D. A lot of people wouldn't be getting vitamin D up north because there's not a whole lot of sunlight up there unless they had eggs or they're having fortified milk. Other than that, there's not a whole lot. Eggs also contain minerals that help normal formation of red blood cells, which can be helpful for pregnant women. So the controversy I want to get into about eggs, they have cholesterol in them, which everyone knows, and we want to figure out, is the cholesterol good for you? Is it bad for you? So a standard egg has about 200 milligrams of cholesterol and 5 grams of fat. Most of that fat is monounsaturated or polyunsaturated fat. It's just the good fat, just to keep it simple for you. It's crucial to distinguish between our dietary cholesterol and then cholesterol that's actually in our blood. And they are very weakly related, honestly. So research is showing that for most people, cholesterol in the food has a smaller effect on our blood levels of total cholesterol and our LDL cholesterol, which is harmful. So it's more important to worry about the mix of our fats in our diet. And the saturated fats and trans fats actually raise our cholesterol levels to not good levels that we want to see them. So it's mainly about the fat, not the cholesterol in the food. Just to kind of get that straightened out for you guys. All right, so fun fact about quiche. It was actually originated in Germany, not France. And that was back in the medieval times. So, the classic quiche Lorraine is made up of crispy bacon, Gruyere cheese, beaten eggs, and fresh cream. So ours is not going to be classic. We have ham and other types of cheeses and spinach in ours. So I hope you enjoy it.
The great thing about these type of breakfast quiches, frittatas, breakfast casseroles, things like that, is that you really can kind of go out and go wild with them. You can add a little bit of anything that you like for your breakfast. I've even seen a French toast Crock-Pot breakfast casserole before. It was really good. But you really can go in many different avenues as far as cheeses, vegetables that you utilize in it, and also with meats. Of course, most breakfast meats are high in sodium and usually high in fat as well. So you just want to be careful and utilize more vegetables than we do on the meats, because you already have the egg there, which is giving you some of those good fats and things that he just talked about. So you can kind of cut back on maybe the bacon and the ham. I know that's weird for me to say cut back on bacon, because that should never happen. When you're talking about eating right, yes. You haven't converted me. I still eat a lot of bacon. So my cardiologist hates me, but hey. So anyway, just be creative whenever it comes to breakfast casseroles, quiches, frittatas. Basically, any type of egg casserole without a crust is technically in the frittata family. I've seen some done that was a mushroom and spinach with ham and sausage, and then as it baked, they just cut a big beef eater tomato and a nice thick slice right on the top, about halfway through the baking process. I tell you what, that was probably one of the best breakfasts I think I've ever had. It was really, really good. The tomato just stayed just solid enough that it had a little bit more crisp to it than everything else, and it was delicious. So the only thing you have to worry about is when you do something like this, if you have the recipe that you have right now, and you decide that you want to add other vegetables to it, if you're not going to cook those vegetables off ahead of time, you're going to want to cut back on the amount of, I think it was half and half, or cream, did it say? Half and half. You're going to want to cut back on the half and half that you add to it, because all the liquid inside of those vegetables as it cooks is going to be rendered, and you're going to end up with a quiche that you can never get to cook all the way through, because you're just going to struggle to get rid of all that liquid from those vegetables. So you could either saute the vegetables off ahead of time, or just cut back on the amount of half and half that you add in with your egg mixture. So, and if you really want to get creative, you can just crack your eggs open on top of the pie pan or in your crock pot, and don't even mix them up. Or just give them a little bit of a swirl to them, just enough to break the yolks. I always like doing this sometimes, just makes it look a little bit neater, different present. It presents a little bit different, and it doesn't just come out as that normal old technical egg yellow look. So, almost everybody got it? Yes?
Can you fix this instead of half and half, use milk?
Absolutely, yes. She asked if you can get rid of the half and half and use just straight milk. Absolutely. Yeah.
Spray that crock pot with some cooking spray. Or the other thing, I did not try this, but we talked about the fact that it probably would work if you want to use those cooking bags in your crock pot. But even with spraying it, mine was really easy to get out. It didn't stick. I didn't have a problem with it sticking, so I'm going to start spraying it all the time when I put things in that crock pot. Yeah, I think it would be really a good thing that you could do if you, like me, you wake up early and you got people at your house like my kids and they don't get up for 2 or 3 hours. You could actually put this in and let it cook on high for the 3 hours, and then to be ready when everybody else gets up. And I've already had my 3 cups of coffee. So I think that you could use it that way, or you could do it, I think even for an evening meal, and put it on, shortly after lunch, and be ready for your evening meal after it cooks about 5 hours. So what do you think about it? Good? Yeah, it's pretty good. It did call, the original recipe did call for more salt, and we took that out. I think our salty ham and our cheese is enough, and hopefully that'll satisfy your salt urges with that. So you could do other vegetables.
Next recipe that we're going to talk about is the slow cooker mushroom barley risotto. Who's ever made a risotto on the stove before? Or maybe he's had one in a restaurant. Now, what's this dish usually made with? Not barley. What is it usually made with? Rice, yeah. And when I was looking at this recipe, kind of wanted to get in and get an idea of, where it came from. I was thinking, rice recipe, that's Asian, right? And no, risotto isn't. Where does it come from?
China?
No, risotto, it's an Italian dish. Yeah, it's an Italian dish. And that kind of got me thinking, wait a minute, the Italians, they're famous for their pasta, not their rice. But in actuality, they grow a lot of rice in certain parts of Italy. And this risotto is one of those creations. And so Italy has a lot of flat land, it's hot and humid, and they can grow some really great rice. And the rice that they use for typical risotto dishes, or traditional ones, they're able to absorb a lot of moisture. And so for this recipe, we want to tweak it up a little bit, and so we did ours with barley. And barley is another great grain. It absorbs a lot of moisture, and so it works really well as a substitute in this dish. And so as far as the recipe is concerned, you start out by just heating olive oil in a skillet, and you start sauteing your vegetables. And so in this recipe, we've got the mushrooms that I'd heard y'all mention just a minute ago with the quiche. We've got mushrooms in this dish, and we've got carrots. And you could certainly add other vegetables to your risotto, but you can just saute those carrots and mushrooms and get some aromas going. And then you transfer that with the barley and thyme into the slow cooker. And the slow cooker is going to do the work for you. And I don't know if you've ever made risotto before, but you really have to kind of watch it so it doesn't burn. Nice to put it in the slow a slow cooker and get to working on other things. And so I think that's one of the benefits of a dish like this. It's often time intensive, but if you do it in a slow cooker, it takes a lot of that hands-on work out. One of the things that we did with this dish by adding in the barley was we increased the fiber. So has anyone had barley before? Is that a grain you've tried? Yeah? Pretty good. It is, isn't it? Really great way to give nuttiness to a dish. It gives a lot of fiber. And it also has antioxidants in it. And I know oftentimes when we think of antioxidants, we're thinking about fruits and vegetables. But did you know you can also get them in grains? And so this whole grain, barley, gives you antioxidants. And those are the little guys that fight damage to our cells. We call it oxidative damage. And that oxidative damage can increase risk for chronic illnesses like heart disease and cancer. And so getting in whole grains like barley is really helpful to protect our cells. It also contains vitamin E, which is good for our skin and also protects cells. The oats, or the barley itself, it's helpful for heart health. And so perhaps you've heard about how oats or oatmeal or Cheerios is good for your heart. Barley is the same way. And so the fiber that you find in oats, similar kind of fiber that you find in barley, is very protective for heart health. Did you have something you wanted to share about our risotto?
Was there anybody here that had made, I thought I saw a few hands of people that's made risotto at home before. So it can be kind of a pain if you've never done it before. But really all you're doing is you're making rice in a very slow fashion. You're staggering the moisture into your rice. You're going to brown the rice off first with some butter or some oil. And then that's going to kind of open everything up, and it's going to allow the rice to take in moisture, but not too much. And then that's going to allow the rest of the liquid for your risotto to kind of be creamed into the sauce, right? It's a great dish. Once you get it down and you know how to make it, it can be pretty easy. The first time I ever made it, I was trying to impress this girl who did end up marrying me, by the way. I'll tell you that, she did. I ignored one part of the recipe, okay? So it said to use chicken broth, but it said to use low sodium chicken broth. And I thought, whatever, I'm not eating healthy tonight, all right? Horrible idea. It was the worst thing I ever ate in my life. It's like a block of salt with rice, okay? And the reason is because you're boiling all the moisture out, and so all of the sodium from that chicken broth just stayed in that small amount of rice, right? And then I added in the Parmesan cheese, and you just continually add the amount of sodium. It was unedible, it was, but I never made that mistake again. So.
She still married me.
And she still married me. I know that's hard to believe, but she did. I got her snowed, I'm telling you. So, but with any type of risotto, I'd never seen it done with barley before, but really it would probably work with just about any grain. Because all you're doing is just trying to open it up and let in that moisture tiny bits at a time. You want your rice, if you make it with rice, you want your rice to be still a little bit firm but not hard, okay? And you can't really cook rice that way unless you do it in a skillet and you're slowly adding that water to it. If you're adding it all at once, it allows that rice to heat up and grab as much moisture as it can. And you're not wanting it to do that. So you can use vegetables, you can use different types of cheeses. Obviously we can use different types of grains. You can use chicken broth, beef broth, a vegetable broth. I mean, you really can just kind of explore your options as far as a risotto goes as well.
One of the things that I found interesting in looking at this dish is the history of how it came to be, how it came to be a popular dish. And so, again, like I said, this is a dish of Italy. And early on, rice came to Italy through the Spaniards. And in the, I believe it was the 16th century, this gentleman, he was an apprentice. He was working on stained glass, and he was getting a lot of flack from the townspeople. They were not saying very nice things about his stained glass. They were making fun of his colors, and they were saying that that color just looks like you took a bunch of saffron and threw it on there, and it was starting to really get to him. And so to get back, he decided that he was going to ruin a dish that was being served at a festival. He took a bunch of saffron and threw it into this rice dish that was kind of bland and boring, and he thought, I'm really going to fix it. I'm going to get those people back. And it actually turned out to be a big hit. And that's where we get risotto. And so it's from this guy who wanted to take revenge and actually made a very popular dish. And so you never know what's going to happen in cooking. You might win a bride, or you might create a national dish. I want to talk a little bit about this next dish. It's Crock-Pot stuffed peppers. Who's made Crock-Pot stuffed peppers before? Or maybe just made, all right, couple of hands. Who likes bell peppers? Yay! All right, we're in good company. All right, so this dish also, I found out, has a really interesting history. It's popular worldwide, and I kind of thought, oh, this is a dish that's popular in America. The bell peppers originate from America. They're from, Central and North America. It's where they originally grew and were discovered. And I thought that's probably where this dish, came to be. Just it's an American dish, but really it's worldwide. I don't know if you've ever had chili. Is it rellenos? Rellenos? Yeah. Thank you. It's a stuffed pepper dish, and where's that dish from? Mexico. And these dishes, these stuffed pepper dishes are found worldwide. And so this is a recipe that you can have a lot of fun with. We've given it more traditional ingredients, but you certainly can switch up the ingredients for the mixture on the inside and make it fun. And you just keep the outside, that stuffed pepper. So a little bit about the bell pepper. Right here we've got a green bell pepper, and tonight that's what our bell peppers are what we use is green bell peppers. And I have a question for you. What's the difference between a green bell pepper and some of those other colors, red, yellow, and orange?
Time on the vine.
Okay, I heard time on the vine, and I heard color. What were some of the other things y'all said? Sweetness. So it's the time on the vine that results in a different color. And so you can kind of see it on this one. I don't know if there we go. What kind of color am I getting on this pepper besides green? Yeah, a little bit of red, maybe it's orange, hard to tell yet. If we would have left that pepper on the vine, it might have turned colors. And what would you describe the taste of this green bell pepper compared to the red one? The green one tastes more what?
Peppery.
Yeah, it's more peppery, more bitter, and as it ages, it becomes more sweet, right? Just like us. As we age, we become more sweet, right? Yeah. My mom said that. I'm the sweeter person than I was when I was a kid, I've been told. But anyway, these bell peppers get more sweet with age, and the different colors depend on something called a cultivar, the way that they were cultivated. And so certain green bell peppers will turn red, others will turn yellow, others will turn orange. So it depends on which cultivar they are. Anyway, enough about bell peppers. This dish is really, really popular with corned beef hash. Our recipe doesn't call for that, though. And so if you look at an old cookbook or old textbook, sometimes you'll see corned beef in it. But our recipe doesn't do that. Instead, we have lean ground beef and black beans. And so we're adding in some fiber, we're adding in some softness to that meat. Some black beans gives it some softness so it's not real hard to chew or swallow. We're also giving it a little bit of heat. Now this calls for fire roasted tomatoes. You might not be somebody that likes a lot of spice or heat. You can certainly substitute that for just stewed tomatoes. But if you like a little heat, that can be fun. Italian tomatoes could be fine too if you wanted to use those. You can switch up the cheese. In this one, however, we chose Monterey Jack. Again, we're trying to give it a little bit of a spicy taste to it. And you see we've got rice, corn, and then a bunch of different seasonings. And so this recipe, really, you could make your own. I hope you really enjoy it. And, enjoy the bell pepper. It's got a lot of vitamin C.
All right. So there's been several of you that's made stuffed peppers before, right? All right. So for those of you that haven't, we're going to demo how to do this. I'm going to try to do this without stepping on cords. There we go. We're good. Okay. So basically, you're going to want to cut the top off of your bell pepper. Be very picky and choosy whenever you go to the store to make stuffed peppers. Normally, you would probably just grab the ones that look good, throw them in your bag, send them on down the road, right? When you're making stuffed peppers, you definitely want to find ones with flatter bottoms, okay, to where they can set up nice and easy. I think there was one in the batch that I did that just kept wanting to fall over. It was infuriating, to be honest with you. So basically what you're going to do is you're just going to cut around the perimeter of the top. The paring knife, nice and slow and easy.
It's not showing in the
Oh, sorry. The difference between a male pepper and a female pepper is the segments, if it has 3 segments or 4 segments. I've never heard that before. It's interesting. And you said it has something to do with the...
One is sweeter than the other one.
Oh, nice. Yeah. The male is probably sweeter. Right? Absolutely. You're a bit outnumbered, guys. Come on. Okay,
For
so...
this recipe, I would choose the bigger one. More stuffing.
Yeah. So once you get it, like I said, you're just going to want to be careful not to cut down the sides because then you're going to leak out. It's going to be a bit of a mess in your crock pot, or if you're just doing a traditional in your pan. But that's it. Cut the top part off. If you have problems with it kind of breaking loose, sometimes if you push in, it'll break it from the sides where it's still connected, and then you'll be able to pull out. You just have to be really, really careful whenever you do that so that it doesn't crack down the sides. And then our goodies can go in. And you can stuff it pretty tight. They're pretty durable. They'll hold up.
Do y'all know where we got the term bell pepper? Where did it come from? It came from Columbus. Christopher Columbus, who sailed the ocean blue, he said, these peppers are not like other peppers I've seen. They're not spicy, they're sweet, and they look like a bell. So you can tell that to the kids.
The last recipe that we'll be tasting tonight, and I think Jared's going to share some things about peaches and blackberries for us. True? Have you ever thought about putting a dessert in your crock pot? You guys done that? You've done that before? I had not done that before, so that's pudding. Bread pudding in the crock pot. Okay. So this is just putting together blackberries and peaches. So that may or may not be a combination of fruits that you would put together. I really hadn't thought about putting those two. I like blackberries, I like peaches. I didn't really think about putting the two together. But it did make a really nice and colorful, I think, dessert. So I looked up some of the benefits of peaches. I didn't know peaches were so wonderful. I mean, I always thought they were wonderful, but they're actually filled with lots of the antioxidants that Lynetta mentioned earlier. You get a good source of those with your peaches. How many different varieties of peaches do you think there are? Many? There's something like 300 different varieties in the United States, and there's something like 2,000 varieties across the globe. So I thought there were just, half a dozen varieties of peaches. They're just, the Georgia peach. So, we've always purchased fresh peaches in August at our house. We've missed it this year for some reason. I don't know why, but we didn't get as many fresh peaches as usual. So they do have those antioxidants. Calories are very low, fairly low for a fresh peach. They also may aid in digestion. So that's something maybe could benefit all of us. They have about 2 grams of fiber, which is not a ton, but every little bit of fiber that we can pick up is good. So, that fiber helps things move through your gut. And then the insoluble fiber that is about half of what's in the peach fiber also helps to produce that beneficial bacteria. So, they're a good source of fiber, both the soluble and insoluble. They also can improve your heart health. We talk about some of the oils being more heart healthy than others, but peaches may also promote heart health. They have something in them that causes us to have improved blood pressure and also improved cholesterol levels. So you can eat peaches for your heart as well. Also may help to reduce your triglyceride level even. So there's really more studies to really confirm that. There's been only a few and they're really small. May also protect your skin. How many of you need your skin protected? Most all of us do. So they may help your skin retain moisture. Also the peach, I understand, was originally called a stone fruit because of that edible peach pit that's in it. How many of you have eaten peach pits? Me neither. I didn't think that sounded very good, but originally it was called a stone fruit for that reason. So the other thing in relation to those antioxidants is helping prevent certain types of cancer because of the carotenoids that are in the peaches. So lots of benefits, to those peaches. Also may help reduce allergy symptoms. How many of you are sneezing and doing a lot of that kind of stuff now? So you might just eat a few peaches every day. Instead of an apple a day, eat a peach a day, something like that. So the histamines are part of your body's defense and trigger those allergy symptoms. And the peaches reduce those allergy symptoms by preventing the release of those histamines. So that's another reason to eat peaches every day. May also boost your immunity, protects against certain toxins. And for those of you that I had in my diabetic classes, they may help reduce your blood sugar levels. So another reason that you have to watch out for the sweetness of the peach as well. So you can have them lots of different ways. This happens to be a dessert idea, which is actually one of my favorite things. So we're going to do, hopefully you get to taste those in just a minute. So there's freestone peaches. They're basically three different kinds of peaches. A freestone, the clingstone, and then a semi-freestone. I think it's a newer development as they've developed different peaches. So my favorite, of course, is the freestone. I think they're lots easier to peel and get that pit out of there. But some people, I think, do prefer those clingstone ones. So Jared, show us how to slice a peach. What are we supposed to do with that peach pit?
Yes. You throw it away. I don't know about this eating the peach pit thing.
I know, I've never heard of it.
I've never heard of that. So, to easily skin a peach, of course I had to do part of this down in the kitchen where I had easy access to boiling water, is you bring water to a boil, drop your peaches in, and let them boil in that water for about 10 to 15 seconds. You don't need a lot of time. Don't need a lot of time, okay? Just enough to kind of cook that outer skin to get it good and hot. Pull it out, put it in a nice water bath, okay? And then afterwards, you can take your paring knife and you can begin to easily peel the skin off. And then basically with your blackberries, if you're using fresh blackberries, you're really just going to want to wash those up and throw them right in. Follow directions. Obviously, you can use apples instead of peaches. You can use raspberries instead of blackberries. You can use strawberries. I mean, the list goes on the different types of fruits that you can add into a crisp like this.
So it has the oats and has the whole wheat flour, and so it doesn't really have very much sugar. So we only end up with about 33 grams of carbs in like a 2/3 cup serving. So I did measure out when we did it at our house yesterday or the day before. I did measure out that 2/3 cup to see if that looked like that would be enough, and it really was. So if you do this particular recipe in these amounts and you measure out the 2/3 of a cup and keep your portion to that size. The other suggestion that the original recipe had was to add either ice cream or vanilla yogurt to it. And it did work really well to serve hot. As soon as it finished in the Crock-Pot, we kind of dished it up and then let it cool just a little bit. And so I think it's an easy way to have it ready maybe at the end of the meal and be able to go ahead and serve it hot and you're not still in the kitchen getting it ready or something like that. So I thought it worked well in a Crock-Pot, and as Jared said, you could change up your fruits that you put in it. I like this combination of blackberries and peaches. I thought that was a little bit different. I like the color of it.
What's a good substitute for sherry vinegar?
You can use apple cider vinegar.
Okay, good.
Yeah. You just don't want to use like a red wine or anything like that because that's just going to totally distort the flavor. You want a milder white wine vinegar would probably do fine too, or a champagne vinegar. Excuse me, but an apple cider vinegar would be fine in that dish.
Good question. Not use red wine vinegar.